What's up, everybody? Daniel Sun back. Welcome to my channel. I wore a fragrance the other day and I decided to go through my old reviews and I was curious to see what I had to say about this fragrance back then. Um, it is Valentino Uomo Intense. Well, I never could find that fragrance, so I actually don't even think I reviewed this fragrance ever, and I've had this for like a year and a half. So I decided to talk about it today. But first, let me show you the presentation, which I don't usually do, but I think this bottle is awesome. I think it is so cool. Check it out. It is all black. It is glass. It's like it has a bunch of like studs protruding from the glass. It has a black metal plate that says Valentino. I think this is a 75 mil. The atomizer is all black. Everything is black. And I think they wanted this fragrance to sort of represent the black leather note in here. It's sort of like tough, masculine, and so I think that's the reason it's all black and it has the metal plate and the studs is because of that black leather note in this fragrance, which is like very dominant. Um, Valentino is an Italian designer house, but I do not consider this an Italian fragrance because this is made in Spain. And wherever a fragrance is made, I consider it from that country. So even though this is an Italian designer house, I consider this a Spanish fragrance from an Italian designer house. This is a Eau de Parfum. Even though there is no perfumer anywhere online for this fragrance, I have my personal opinion. I think it's Olivier Polge because Olivier Polge was the perfumer and the creator behind Valentino Uomo. So I think he is the perfumer and creator of this. I think they wanted him to carry on that legacy, and I think he wanted to carry on with the Valentino Uomo legacy, making a flanker. So my personal opinion is, even though it's not listed anywhere on the internet, I think the perfumer is Olivier Polge. Let me give you the notes real quick. Top notes. Mandarin Clary Sage. Heart notes, Iris Absolute, Essence of Patchouli, and Tonka Bean. Base notes, Black Leather and Vanilla Bean. Let me tell you what I do not get. I do not get Mandarin at all. I do not get Clary Sage at all. The notes that I do get, I want to talk about individually because I think it will be very important for this review to talk about these notes individually. And then I'll tell you my experience overall with this fragrance. The first note I want to talk about is the iris. A lot of people consider this an iris dominant fragrance. I do not. The iris in this fragrance, I do not use. There's a lot of fragrances that I have that has iris in it, and I do not like those fragrances because of the iris. A lot of iris fragrances, the iris is powdery and it's just way too lipsticky. This is not. This has a lipstick and a powdery vibe to it, but it's toned down a lot. So I love, love the iris in this fragrance because they don't overdo it with the lipstick and the powdery. They sort of toned that down and made a little bit more floral. So I love it. I love the Iris Absolute in here. The second note I want to talk about is the vanilla bean. The vanilla bean in here is a really beautiful, slightly sweet vanilla, but it doesn't go in the gourmand direction at all. This is more of a pure, natural, slightly sweet vanilla. So that's another plus. I want to talk about the black leather in here. The black leather note in here, I have several leather dominant fragrances. And this is, if somebody asked me, pick your favorite leather fragrance, it would be this. Absolutely. Hands down, I wouldn't even think about it because the black leather fragrance in here is, to me, it smells like the most expensive Italian leather that you could possibly buy. And I've smelled cheap leather jackets, and I've smelled expensive leather jackets, and I've smelled very expensive leather jackets. And this to me smells like an extremely expensive leather jacket, black leather jacket. It smells like you just sat down in a brand new Bentley or Ferrari or something like that. And as far as the black leather, there is a difference between, to me personally, there's a difference in the smell of black leather, brown leather, and suede leather because I have a lot of leather fragrances. And there is a slight difference in the smell of black leather and brown leather and suede leather. There is a difference. So this is, to me, smells like a extremely expensive black leather, and which is another good thing. Now on for the Tonka bean. I think, believe it or not, I think the Tonka bean might be the most important note in this entire fragrance. And I don't even smell it, and I'll tell you why. A perfumer can take a Tonka bean, and depending on how they apply it and infuse it and blend it into a fragrance, it can create a different smell. Like a perfumer can take a Tonka bean, and if they infuse it and blend it and apply it just right, it can smell like vanilla. You can take the same Tonka bean, and if you apply it just right and infuse it just right, you can take the coumarin in the Tonka bean and put it into a fragrance and add oak moss and lavender and create a beautiful fougere fragrance. There is actually another way that you can take a Tonka bean and infuse it and blend it and apply it to a fragrance that it doesn't even smell. But what it does is they use it as a fixative. And I think that's what Olivier Polsch did here. He used the Tonka bean as a fixative. And a fixative in perfumery is where you can add an ingredient into a perfume and it blends and binds all the other accords and all the other notes together and sort of joins them and marries them and makes the family out of them. And I think that's what he did in this fragrance using the Tonka bean. I think he used it as a fixative to sort of like bring all these notes and accords together and join them and bind them together and blend them and make them a happy family. That's what he did, in my opinion. And it turned out absolutely beautiful. I don't say this a lot about fragrances, but I consider this a masterpiece. I really do, because everything in here smells expensive. All the notes separated smell like they are expensive and top of the line notes. And I think they spent a lot of money on the ingredients in this. And I can tell he took his time with this fragrance and he got this fragrance perfect. I don't know how long it took him, but he put a lot of love into this fragrance. And I can tell when a perfumer takes his time and loves a fragrance when he's bringing it into this world. And this is a masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. All these notes combined with that Tonka bean, how the Tonka bean combines all these notes, and the iris is perfect with the vanilla, and the vanilla is perfect with the really expensive black leather, and everything fits together so well, just like a puzzle. And I've always loved this fragrance, but when I wore it the other day, I remembered how much I love this fragrance. So, man, 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 I love this. Um, I heard a rumor a long time ago that it's been discontinued. So I found two of these 50 or 75 mils online and went ahead and bought them because I did not want to ever go without this fragrance. You can still find it online. As a matter of fact, I'll find the cheapest um, that I can find online. I think it might be Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description so you won't have to do any searching. I'll find the cheapest um, that I can find online and put the link in the description. But this is so beautiful. This is not an iris dominant fragrance. This is a expensive black leather and vanilla dominant fragrance. The iris is a lot more dominant in the very opening, but that vanilla, as this fragrance develops, gets more and more vanilla, and at the end of the dry down, it's a beautiful combination of really expensive black leather and vanilla, slightly sweet vanilla, and it's just absolutely perfect. A lot of people compared this to Dior Homme Intense and Dior Homme Parfum. I personally do not get that. The only thing I see in common with those two and this is the iris. That's all that I see in common. I would never compare this to those because I think they're just three completely separate um, fragrances. And if I actually had to pick between um, the Dior Homme Intense, Dior Homme Parfum, and this one, my last pick would be Dior Homme Intense. Then it would be, believe it or not, Dior Homme Parfum would be my second pick, and this would be my favorite pick out of all of those. So that's saying a lot because I really love Dior Homme Parfum. It is way more expensive and it's harder to find, and it's extremely elegant, just like this. There's a lot more going on. It develops a lot more, but the overall smell itself, hands down, expensive black leather and vanilla. By far, I would pick this over all three of those in a heartbeat. So, anyway, I hope y'all got something from this. And I will be back and I will talk about something else later. Love y'all. Bye.